The president has said he does not want to be responsible for starting World War III.
There's one candidate standing up for the rule of law, standing up for our democratic institutions.
He believes that he's above the law.
President Biden commented as a loving father.
Would this case have been brought against anyone other than former President Trump?
Yes, of course.
This campaign is under no false illusion that the media is going to do our jobs for us.
Are they preparing a civil war against us? Should we be concerned about our safety?
I think that can have the desired effect and show the American people we're not going to tolerate this.
Where the Republicans are situated today with Donald Trump as their candidate is better today than it's ever been.
Yesterday was Sunday, which means the propagandists were out in full force. We're going to start with John Kirby, who said the reason that Biden is approving Ukraine being able to strike in Russia is because he doesn't want to be responsible for starting World War III, when in fact that would just be making it more likely.
Former President Trump said this morning on Fox News that the world is out of control and laid the blame on President Biden because he said world leaders don't respect President Biden. Your response?
Well, I don't get into election campaign rhetoric. I can't do that. I can just tell you that everywhere the president goes, and he will hear this message, I have no doubt, when we go to France next week for the D-Day commemoration and a state visit with President Macron, as well as the G7 in Italy the week later. He'll continue to hear from American leaders, as he has heard, that they welcome American leadership on the world stage, that they appreciate the way the president has revitalized our alliances and partnerships and our networks around the world.
Let me ask you about Ukraine. President reversed his previous position and granted Ukraine permission to strike inside Russia with U.S. weapons. What prompted the switch, and are you worried that it's going to draw the U.S. into a direct conflict? That was the president's concern before.
We've been concerned about escalation since the very beginning of this war, and those concerns remain valid. The president has said he does not want to be responsible for starting World War III. We're not looking for a conflict with Russia, another nuclear-armed power.
Then we have Biden campaign spokesman Michael Tyler saying that the political party that is prosecuting their political opponent is protecting democracy and the rule of law. He also made a hilarious claim that the Biden campaign knows the media isn't going to help them, while another Biden campaign spokesman, Quentin Fultz, claimed that Donald Trump thinks he's above the law because he said he wasn't sure that the American people would accept him going to prison.
This is not a normal election. Donald Trump has already demonstrated that he's not a normal candidate. He is a fundamental, persistent, and growing threat to our democracy, and Joe Biden is running to make sure that we end that threat once and for all. This campaign is going to make sure that the American people understand that fundamental contrast in this race moving forward, that there's one candidate standing up for the rule of law, standing up for our democratic institutions, defending our Constitution, defending our democracy, and that's Joe Biden. Yeah, I think this campaign is under no false illusion that the media is going to do our jobs for us. That's why this campaign has relentlessly been communicating the stakes across a number of platforms, and the president himself communicating the stakes across a number of platforms, not just doing news conferences, but actually sitting down and doing local interviews.
Just this morning, he said if he goes to jail, he doesn't believe that the country can take it. He believes that he's above the law, and he does not care who he steps on to make his points and to get what he wants, but it's only self-serving for himself.
House Minority Speaker Hakeem Jeffries said that Joe Biden weighing in on his son's trial is not to influence it, it's just because he's a loving father. Which is ironic considering that Democrats are saying anyone who disagrees with the Trump verdict is a threat to democracy and the rule of law. He also said that if it was not Donald Trump and it was just a regular citizen, they too would have been charged for the hush money payments. Which anybody with a working brain knows they would have never brought this case against a regular citizen, and that's evident by the fact that they bumped it up to a felony charge when in normal cases, if it was even tried, it would have been a misdemeanor charge. And then we have Maryland Governor Wes Moore with a little propaganda wordplay.
Hunter Biden, the president's son, goes on trial for gun charges beginning tomorrow. President Biden said last year, quote, "My son has done nothing wrong." The Wall Street Journal, as you see here, the editorial board said at the time, quote, "That's a highly inappropriate message from a president. He's essentially telling prosecutors that they are wrong to bring an indictment because Hunter is innocent of any criminal behavior." Why was it appropriate for President Biden to publicly comment on his son's case?
President Biden commented as a loving father, as I would hope any loving father would do.
This crime was more than 8 years old. There are questions about the validity of the legal theory, untested legal theory that was used to prosecute it. Would this case have been brought against anyone other than former President Trump?
Yes, of course. This verdict in the case of People v. Trump was a validation of the American judicial system.
I think the American people have just gotten a bird's eye view on how over these past months how these two individuals deal with trials. You know, you look at President Biden and the trials that he has had to deal with, things like deadly storms in the Midwest, trials like addressing the fact that this criminalization of cannabis has been used as a cudgel against so many communities, particularly communities of color, for so many years.
Next, we have one of the dumbest members of Congress, Maxine Waters. According to her, it's shocking that people see the political prosecution of Trump as a political prosecution. And then she went to a new variation of her domestic terrorism talking point. Of course, Waters previously said that you should harass Trump administration officials and you should tell them that they are not welcome in public.
I'm still shocked and amazed that his supporters would follow him with the lies and distortions that he continues to give to the American people. He says it's rigged. He says if they can do this to me, they can do it to you, bringing in others to cover the lies that he's telling. I'm amazed that those who claim to be so patriotic are so unpatriotic. I am going to spend some time with the criminal justice system, with the justice system, asking them, tell us what's going on with the domestic terrorists. Are they preparing a civil war against us? Should we be concerned about our safety? What is he doing with this divisive language? It is dangerous, and we're going to have to make sure that we understand that we're not at risk. As a member of Congress with people, you know, who evidently had a racist attitude, and recently one even confronted me in a restaurant, and they don't say racist things, but what they say is they don't like something I said. They don't like a position that I took. But you know that, you know, if you were not Black, you would not be approached that way.
They probably would not. They would think twice about doing it. They think that they can get away with doing it with you, and that you're fly.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. The people are going to turn on them. They're going to protest. They're going to absolutely harass them until they decide that they're going to tell the president, no, I can't hang with you. Wow. What a moving evening this is. I am sitting here listening, watching, absorbing, thinking about Ali, even though I never met him. And with this kind of inspiration, I will go and take Trump out tonight. Yes, I would like to see the bill in Congress pass on police reform, but I know that the right wing, the racists, are opposed to it, and I don't know what's going to happen to it, but I know this, we've got to stay in the street. You see this turnout here? You ain't seen nothing yet. Women are going to control their bodies no matter how they try and stop us. The hell with the Supreme Court. We will defy them. Women will be in control of their bodies. And if they think Black women are intimidated or afraid, they got another thought coming. Black women will be out in droves. We will be out by the thousands. We will be out by the millions. We're going to make sure we fight for the right to control our own bodies. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hello, young girls. We're fighting for you. I don't know what's happening and where they are, but we're going to take every effort and try everything we can to overcome what they have done to us.
It's not just Democrats that got in on the propaganda game. Republican Speaker of the House Mike Johnson went on Fox News, where he said that they're going to hold hearings, investigations, and probably write some very strongly worded letters about the Trump prosecution and the weaponization of the Justice Department. So what that means is Republicans in DC will use this as a fundraising opportunity, similar to how after the 2020 election they did nothing to actually secure future elections and they just complained about it.
And the purpose of the hearing is to investigate what these prosecutors are doing at the state and federal level to use politics, political retribution in the court system to go after political opponents of federal officials like Donald Trump. That's a really important thing for us to delve into, and we're going to look at Special Counsel Jack Smith, who we believe is abusing his authority as well. We have the funding streams, we have mechanisms to try to get control of that. We'll be doing that within the confines of our jurisdiction, and I think that can have the desired effect and show the American people we're not going to tolerate this. Shannon, at the end of the day, people are losing their faith in our system of justice itself, and that's a serious threat.
Lastly, we have former RNC chair and former Trump chief of staff Reince Priebus. The country is in societal decay, our financial system is out of control, but don't worry, because according to Priebus, the Republican Party is in the strongest position it's been in since Donald Trump announced in 2015. Which again, they will fundraise and they will use this to get elected, and then will do absolutely nothing to solve the problems while complaining about the Democrats.
I'm like a lot of the folks out there that think that when Alvin Bragg decided and said to the people of New York that he's in the best situation to go after Donald Trump because he's done it over 100 times to his kids, and that was one of the bases for his election, I think he made it political. Joe Biden made it political by sending Robert De Niro down here into Manhattan. So the Biden has chosen to make it political. The district attorney chose to make it political. And what's happening? What's happening is we've got an unbelievable united party. $53 million came in the door. I spoke to the chairman of the RNC yesterday. I spoke to President Trump yesterday. And I asked him, I said, is there anything that you're seeing right now, other than the headache of this conviction, that isn't going well in this campaign? And the answer is that this campaign, and where the Republicans are situated today, with Donald Trump as their candidate, is better today than it's ever been at any time that he's ever run for president.